You think you're just watching a video, but this is a divine appointment. What if I told you that the entire course of your life could change with just one word, yes? Imagine God looking at you right now and saying, I'm not asking for perfection. I'm asking for your yes. But here's the danger. What if hesitation costs you the opportunity, the blessing, or the breakthrough you've been praying for? What if everything you've ever wanted is only one yes away, and you don't give it? Stay with me, because in the next few minutes, we're going to uncover why your yes carries more power than perfection, and why the decision you make today could determine your future forever. Perfection has become one of the greatest illusions of our time. People wait, sometimes for years, to finally feel ready before they take action. They wait to fix every flaw, to align every detail, to meet a standard that was never realistic to begin with. And while they wait, life keeps moving forward. The truth is, perfection is not only unattainable, it is unnecessary. God has never required you to be flawless before He can use you. He has never expected your life to be polished and sparkling before He calls you forward. What He asks for is simple, but it is also profound. He asks for your yes. Perfectionism is a form of bondage. It convinces you that you cannot move until every broken part of your life is repaired, until every past mistake is erased, until you never stumble again. But that's not how God works. If He waited for humans to be perfect, He would never accomplish anything through us. The story of Scripture is not the story of perfect people. It is the story of willing people. Imperfect, scarred, often hesitant, but willing. Think of Moses. When God called him to lead Israel out of Egypt, Moses argued back. He said he wasn't eloquent enough. He stuttered. He wasn't the man for the job. But God wasn't asking him for flawless speech. He was asking for obedience. He was asking for a yes. Or think about Gideon, who called himself the least in his family, unworthy to lead. Yet God turned him into a mighty warrior because he finally said yes. Or consider Peter. He denied Jesus 3 times in the darkest moment of Christ's life. But after he said yes again, God built the early church through his leadership. None of them were perfect. All of them were willing. This pattern reveals something powerful. Willingness is greater than perfection. Your yes is more valuable to God than your flawless performance. He doesn't need your perfection because His strength is made perfect in your weakness. That means your flaws don't disqualify you. They actually become the canvas for His glory. Now, why is this important for your life today? Because many of us are waiting on the sidelines, telling ourselves that when we finally get it together, then we will step into God's calling. We tell ourselves we'll get serious when we fix our habits, or when we feel spiritually strong enough, or when we finally hit that milestone in life. But the danger of that thinking is that you never actually arrive. The goalpost keeps moving. You will always see another flaw, another area to fix, another reason to delay. And while you wait, opportunities pass by. Blessings remain unopened. Doors that were meant for you stay closed because you never walked through them. Saying yes is about action in the present. It's about stepping forward with what you have, even if you don't feel ready. It's about trusting that God will meet you in the middle of your obedience. When you take the step, He provides the strength. When you move, He aligns the path. When you obey, He multiplies the result. The miracle rarely happens before the yes. The miracle happens after. And here is something most people don't realize. Your yes doesn't just impact your spiritual life. It shapes every decision you make. It changes the way you think about your career, your relationships, your finances, your daily choices. When you live with a posture of yes, you begin to walk with clarity. You stop second-guessing every move. You stop overanalyzing every detail. You start to discern wisdom because you're no longer trying to do life on your own. You're leaning into divine guidance. Consider decision-making. So many people wrestle with indecision, paralyzed by the fear of making the wrong move. But when you have already said yes to God, decisions simplify. You measure them not just by what looks profitable or comfortable, but by what aligns with God's principles. And here's the beautiful irony. Those principles often lead to both peace and prosperity, because obedience to God's way produces results that human effort alone cannot manufacture. This is why urgency matters. The longer you hesitate, the longer you delay the momentum that obedience brings. Momentum is like a snowball. Once you start rolling, it grows larger, it gains speed, it creates force. But if you never start, you never see it grow. Saying yes creates momentum in your life. And momentum attracts opportunity. It draws connections, opens doors, and positions you for blessings that were already waiting. Think about the financial side. Many Christians have an unhealthy relationship with wealth because they've been taught it is unspiritual. But in reality, wealth is a tool. It is neutral until it is placed in someone's hands. When placed in the hands of someone obedient to God, wealth becomes an instrument for impact. It builds communities, supports ministries, blesses families, and creates legacies. But how does wealth actually connect to your yes? It's about stewardship. When you say yes to God, He begins to entrust you with responsibility. You learn to manage what you have wisely. You learn to multiply resources instead of wasting them. You become a faithful steward, and faithfulness always leads to multiplication. The more you manage well, the more capacity God gives you. And as you grow, that growth isn't just for your benefit. It overflows to everyone around you. Imagine saying yes today and watching as, years from now, your children inherit not only financial stability, but also spiritual legacy. Imagine your community being stronger because you chose obedience over hesitation. Imagine generations looking back and tracing their blessings to the moment you decided to surrender. That's the ripple effect of yes. Yet, the transformation is not only external, it is deeply internal. The most powerful change that happens when you live with a yes is what happens inside of you. Fear begins to dissolve. not because you never feel afraid, but because you've learned to move forward anyway. Confusion begins to lift, not because you always know every detail, but because you know the one guiding your steps. Lack begins to shift, not because life is suddenly free of challenges, but because you begin to see provision where before you saw only emptiness. Hesitation turns into boldness. You start to recognize that you don't need to have every answer before you act. You don't need to fix every weakness before you obey. You don't need to be perfect before you surrender. Boldness grows when you stop over-calculating and start trusting. But the opposite is also true. When you refuse your yes, when you cling to hesitation, you risk something far greater than temporary discomfort. You risk living a half-lived life. You risk becoming someone who constantly wonders what could have been if you had trusted earlier. That quiet voice of regret becomes heavier as the years pass, and nothing weighs more than the knowledge that you said no to the opportunities that could have changed everything. Think of how many lives could be impacted by your yes. It may be something small in your eyes, helping someone, starting a project, launching a business, reaching out to a person in need, but you don't know the chain reaction it could create. One act of obedience can ripple outward far beyond what you imagine. God is not scanning your resume to see if you're qualified. He's not reviewing your performance to see if you deserve the call. He's looking at your heart. And what he's after is willingness. He knows your flaws, and he still calls you. He knows your weaknesses, and he still invites you. He knows your history, and he still says, I want your yes. Every great story of transformation begins with that surrender. The moment someone decides to stop waiting for perfect conditions and simply says, Yes, Lord, here I am, that moment becomes the turning point. The shift begins not when circumstances change, but when the heart changes. This is why your yes is the most powerful gift you can give. It is not about impressing God with your ability. It is about trusting Him with your availability. Your willingness creates room for His power. Your obedience becomes the stage where His glory is displayed. And the amazing truth is that your yes today can unlock blessings that stretch far into the future. You may not see the full effect immediately, but obedience has a way of compounding. Just like interest in an investment account grows over time, the fruit of your yes multiplies in ways you cannot predict. So, what does it take? It takes courage to silence the lie of perfection. It takes humility to admit you can't do it on your own. It takes faith to believe that if you move forward, God will meet you there. But once you step, once you surrender, once you say yes, you set in motion a transformation that touches every area of life. Yes leads to clarity. Yes leads to wisdom. Yes leads to provision. Yes leads to legacy. And above all, yes leads to the presence and power of God working in and through you in ways you could never create on your own. So here's the truth. God has never been waiting for your perfection. He has been waiting for your yes. Your yes is the key to clarity. Your yes is the key to wisdom. Your yes is the key to abundance, to purpose, and to a life that impacts generations. But the question remains, will you keep hesitating, waiting for perfect conditions that will never come? Or will you dare to say yes today? Because the next chapter of your life doesn't begin with flawless performance. It begins with surrender, and one single yes could change everything